It says Andy sold watches, parentheses, $9. That means the watches cost $9 each. Andy sold alarm clocks, parentheses, $5. That means those alarm clocks cost $5 each at a flea market. Total sales were $287. Now, before we go on, I want to show you a way to approach this kind of problem. Anytime you see a problem in this class, it'll be from chapter 5. Anytime you see a problem from chapter 5 that says somebody sold two different things for two different prices, that's what I call an invoice problem. An invoice problem. And the reason I call it an invoice problem is most of us have seen an invoice at some point in our life. An invoice usually has at least 4 columns in it. It has the name of the item. It has the price that item costs. It has the quantity of how many of those items we bought. And then it has sometimes called an extension or a subtotal for that item. In other words, if somebody sells, let's say, if somebody sells mugs and t-shirts, right? Somebody sells mugs and t-shirts, and they sell the mugs for $5 each, and they sell the t-shirts for $12 each. Let's pretend we have that situation. Now, what if we knew that somebody bought 100 mugs? What would be the total cost of all those 100 mugs? How would we find that answer? We'd multiply that price times the quantity, wouldn't we? In other words, on an invoice, we always take the price and we multiply it times the quantity, and that gives us how much was spent on that item, doesn't it? So we're going to multiply this price times this quantity, and we're going to multiply this price times this quantity. And then what would we do if we knew these two quantities? Let's say they were these two quantities. What if someone said, how much was your total sales? How would we find that answer? We just add these two subtotals, wouldn't we? Now we can do this for 2 items, we can do it for 22 items, but it'll always be the same process. We multiply across, and then we add that last column to get the total sales. So here's how the problems are always going to work in chapter 5. If it's an invoice problem, there will be 2 things that they're selling. They'll give us 2 different prices. They will always tell us the names of the items. They'll always tell us the prices. They'll always tell us the total sales. Let's say the total sales were $378. $378. I'm going to go ahead and make a grid out of this because it's just a little neater and seems to help solidify the ideas. So they will always give us these 5 things. They will always ask us for these 2 things. The question at the end of the problem is going to be, how many of each did Andy sell, or whoever sell it? Okay. Always going to be the same set. Now, our question is, what we have to figure out is, one of these things is going to be X, and the other thing is going to be something with X in it. And they're going to tell us, they're going to have to give us a hint that lets us know what to put there. Now, notice in this problem, actually, forget about this problem. Let me do the mugs and t-shirts. What if we said Jolene sold 3 times as many mugs as t-shirts? We said Jolene sold 3 times as many mugs as t-shirts. What if we knew that she sold, well, first of all, what did she sell more of? sold more mugs, didn't she? 3 times as many as the t-shirts. What if we knew that she only sold 1 t-shirt? How would we figure out how many mugs?
1 times 3.
We multiply, because times means multiply, doesn't it? We multiply by 3. What if we knew she sold 10 t-shirts? We multiply by 3, and that would give us the mugs, wouldn't it? What if we didn't know how many t-shirts she sold? What if that was unknown? We'd still do the same thing to it, wouldn't we? We'd multiply by 3. And 3 times x is just 3x, isn't it? Now, we have to be careful. Let's not use x to mean times. If we want to multiply numbers together, if we do this, it might look like 3x4. It might look like an unknown. So we do it one of 2 ways. We put a dot in between, or we put 1 or both of them in parentheses. Those things mean to multiply. Now, if it's a letter, we can just put them next to each other without a dot, or without parentheses, and we know that 2 things next to each other means we multiply. But if we put 2 numbers next to each other, that looks like 34, doesn't it? So we always have to do this if we multiply numbers together. So we've got 3 times x and x. How does that feel? If they say, how many mugs and t-shirts did she sell, and they tell us one of them was so many times more than the other, we let x be the smaller thing, be the smaller quantity. So I say she sold 3 times as many mugs as t-shirts. That means she sold more mugs. That means t-shirts, the smaller thing. So I let that be the x, and I let the mugs be 3 times that.